Did you know when you know something, you act on it automatically without knowing it? This is In Search of God. I'm your host, Dolores Johnson. Belief is an excitingly motivating part of our lives. Belief is not just religious, it is innate. We believe in the day, which makes us get up in the morning, not really knowing what the day will hold. We believe in our cars, buses, bikes, or whatever mode of transportation we use to get us from point A to point B. I don't know anything about cars, except that mine will get me where I'm trying to go faster than walking. According to the definition, belief is the state or habit of mind in which trust or confidence is placed in some person or thing. Let's focus on habit of mind for a moment. Every notion we have is checked by what we believe in or what we believe is possible. For example, I have found that routines are good for me. So, I make a conscious effort to go to bed every night and be asleep by 10 o'clock. And I try to get up no later than 5 a.m. in the morning. I know, nobody's up at 5 o'clock in the morning but me. It's not like if I go to bed after 10 and I get up after 5, all hell is going to break loose. But I believe my day goes better if I go to bed early and I work more efficiently first thing in the morning. I know from experience that I don't function well in the afternoons or in the evenings. And I do function very well first thing in the morning. I've also learned that to work well early in the morning, I have to rest. So it follows that I should consciously form a habit of going to bed early at night and getting up early in the morning if I want access to my full potential. I did just that several years ago, and I found that once the habit was formed, the signals for going to bed and for getting up have formed in my body automatically. That process is now on autopilot. So I can focus my attention on other things, like accessing that potential. I just recently finished a book called Blink, The Power of Thinking Without Thinking by Malcolm Gladwell. Blink is all about snap decisions. According to this book, we run most of our lives on autopilot. We run our routines throughout the day, making unconscious decisions based on experiential information that we've been collecting since the day we were born. The book is filled with examples of the jewels and pitfalls of our automatic reactions to circumstances. It starts with a story about a statue that scientific evidence suggested was genuine, but the gut feeling of art curators accurately judged this statue as fake. He goes on to discuss how a trained eye can accurately judge the state of a relationship between two people in 3 minutes based on observing those individuals as they react to one another when asked a neutral question. Lastly, and I think the most impactful part of the book, he highlights the state of race relations in America through the lens of learned behavior and automatic responses on both sides of this discourse. The fact is that we are built to take action automatically based on our belief in the knowledge we have, whatever knowledge that is. Let's talk about this physiologically. Most of us start to learn to read at a very young age, building our vocabulary over time. But before you know it, really without you knowing it, you begin to mentally replace the letters like A-P-P-L-E, for example, with an image of an apple. If you like them and you're hungry, you may even begin to salivate. So when you see the word apple, mentally you see an apple, or you know that that collection of letters represents a piece of fruit that you recognize by its appearance, texture, and taste. Because of your experiential knowledge about apples, your brain does all that translation in a split second. Let's take this a step further. Athletes practice. Sometimes they repeat the same actions or shots or run the same distance over and over again to build what we call muscle memory. Merriam-Webster defines muscle memory as the ability to repeat a specific muscular movement with improved efficiency and accuracy acquired through practice and repetition. According to an article from Oxford University, we have several different memory systems: fact memory, life event or episodic memory, and skills memory, just to name a few. The article says while we are learning something new, various parts of our brains are changed and engaged. While learning is occurring, our brains are changing and reshaping to help us achieve the goals we're striving for. Let's talk about these structures for just a minute. White matter can be thought of as the information highway in your brain. These pathways connect one area of your brain to another. New routes are created as more information needs to be transmitted. For example, when you learn a new activity that requires hand-eye coordination, the brain creates multiple pathways between the brain's region responsible for vision and the area responsible for movement. As we practice, the brain will create as many of these pathways as it needs to make that activity easy and efficient. Gray matter represents the area of the brain where information is processed. According to the study, gray matter increases so we have more capacity for information processing. So our brains literally get larger as we learn. When learning a new motor skill or anything that requires action, the motor cortex also receives an upgrade. The cells in this area connect with other neurons that travel down the spinal cord and send our muscles information. The article suggests that brain activity changes when we transition from acquiring new skills to perfecting them. Scientists use tools such as MRI, magnetic resonant imaging, and TMS, transcranial magnetic stimulation, to measure activities in the brains and muscles. They have discovered an increased activity across the brain when we learn something new, specifically in the premotor cortex and the basal ganglia. After the skill is acquired, activity in these areas of the brain decrease. But if we continue to practice, we begin to experience heightened activity in the motor cortex and in the cerebellum, which helps us to make those actions automatic. I found a great example of this in a movie called Ip Man. Ip Man is a martial arts movie based on a real-life story. He loved his martial arts style of Wing Chun. He talked about it when asked, he graciously accepted challenges when they were posed, and he practiced. His discipline was impeccable and his practice tireless. He had a Wing Chun dummy, which is a wooden contraption basically comprised of a thick pole bolted to the ground and large wooden pegs that protrude horizontally from all sides. He practiced by performing open-handed strikes and kicks at the pegs. Each strike would flow graciously from one to the next, moving from peg to peg, up and down the Wing Chun dummy. The image was powerful and rhythmic. At the end of the movie, and again, spoiler alert, when he combats his main nemesis, he gets the guy in the corner, and then that muscle memory kicks in, and he just starts working the guy's body like that Wing Chun dummy. No thought, his hands and feet flowed gracefully from one movement to the next. He went on autopilot. The current science suggests that muscle memory resides in the muscles, that our cells remember these complex tasks. This means once the message is sent from the brain, the muscles run the entire routine from its memory. What does that have to do with mustard seed faith? Building faith is like building up muscle memory or intentionally creating habits. For example, I started a routine of reading Proverbs every day. There are 31 Proverbs, so you can read one a day every month and then start back over at the beginning of the month. The book of Proverbs is filled with precepts and advice. For example, on the 30th day of each month, I would read these verses as a part of the 30th proverb. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with food convenient for me, lest I be filled and deny thee, and say, Who is the Lord? Or lest I be poor and steal, and take the name of my God in vain. Now I will think about that sentiment all day long and try to understand what it means in my life. As I said, there are 31 proverbs, so you can read, or I read, one every day for an entire month. And then at the beginning of the month, I start back over at one again. I am practice. I am implementing repetition. I also read Matthew chapter 5 and 7 over and over again. Matthew chapter 5 through 7 contains the Sermon on the Mount, which is a historical event where Christ sits down and talks with the multitude about how to live their lives by faith. Here I'll read such verses as, If thou bring thy gift to the altar, and there rememberest that thy brother has aught against thee, leave there thy gift before the altar, and go thy way. First be reconciled with your brother, and then come and offer the gift. And again, ye have heard that it has been said, Thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thy enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemy, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh the sun to shine on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and the unjust. That's just a few verses from chapter 5. But I read these passages, Matthew chapter 5 through 7, all the while telling myself, this is the person I want to be. I am consciously shaping my mind to think a certain way about my life. I am deliberately shaping my personality. I am creating muscle memory to guide me in my daily snap decisions. Mustard seed living only comes when you intentionally read Scripture and talk to God and make these two things one of the things you do in your everyday life. King David played his harp and made songs to God while he tended sheep. Daniel took time out of every day, 3 times a day, at a specific time, to pray to God. And when they encountered their nemesis, these 2 men automatically shift into autopilot without fear or doubt, using the skills and weapons they had acquired by spending time with God, and they prevailed. As I said in the beginning, my belief in God determines what I eat. It also determines what I'll do on specific days of the week, or how I view holidays, or treat other people, or even conduct my business. These behaviors are automatic. They are a part of who I am. It began with a desire to know God, trusting in God, and accepting the Bible as my owner's manual, my life user's guide to what I need to know. So I read it daily to find the parts that tell me how to be the person I want to be. Now, I lean on those words and precepts to guide me through my life's challenges, raising my children, choosing a career, interacting with my husband. And when my life's nemesis appear, I am armed with the weapons and maneuvers to help me prevail. I am Dolores Johnson, and this has been In Search of God. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for listening. Connect with us because we want to connect with you. Visit our website, stwog.org. You'll find lots of interesting things there. Live and on-demand video content, more podcasts, book clubs, a church directory, and more. It's important to get and stay connected with others, so join us. The Bible says, don't forsake the gathering of yourselves together. The internet makes this easy. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. Until next time, peace and blessings.